Kranti Kumari. My name is Kranti Kumari, DL in Commerce, TTWRDC Dhammapet. Today I am going to discuss about the topic taxation terms with reference to the Income Tax Act 1961. To create awareness about the Indian taxation structure to the BCom students, most of the universities which are situated in India, they offered taxation subjects to the BCom students, which includes various rules and regulations which are comes under the Income Tax Act 1961. So today I just want to give a glance about the some of the taxation terms which are comes under the Income Tax Act 1961. So before going to discuss about the taxation term, just tell me what you mean by tax according to your view. So the meaning of tax. So here the term tax means it's a statutory payment to be made by the public and imposed by the government. So tax means it's a statutory payment, means every kind of individual who is living in the country, they have to pay tax to the government if he earns more than his exemption limit, and it's a statutory payment. It must be paid by the public and imposed by the government. So the word tax is derived from a Latin word taxare. So taxare means to estimate or value. Okay, then the meaning of tax means the act of levying taxes is called as taxation. So it's an act, the act of levying taxes is called as taxation. So then we'll discuss the features of tax. So the first feature of tax is taxes can be or shall be imposed by the government only. Yes, here the government is classified into three categories. One is central government, state government, and local bodies. Okay, so these governments can be or shall be imposed the taxes on the public. Then the second feature is these taxes must be paid in the form of cash only. Yes, taxes are classified into two types. One is direct taxes and the other one is indirect taxes. These both taxes are paid in the terms of cash only. Then the third feature is the aim of levying tax is to promote the welfare of the people living in the country. So the main aim or the major objective to levy tax on the public is to promote the welfare of the people by providing infrastructure facilities to the public and to create employment opportunities in the country. So all these, if the country wants to satisfy all the welfare activities which are relating to the development of the public, they need to collect taxes from the public. And the next feature is the object of tax is to raise revenue to the government. Yes, the major revenue of the government is to collect taxes from the public. If the public not able to pay tax to the government, so the major revenue of the government is decreased. And the next feature of tax is it's a legal collection. Yes, tax is levied by the government, so that's why it is a collection. It is a legal collection. So then when it comes to the other features, the payment of tax involves an element of sacrifice. Yes, if the public paying the tax to the government, so they are sacrificing their income, and that sacrifice will give confidence to the government to complete the various welfare activities for the sake of the public. So that's why the payment of tax which involves an element of sacrifice of the individual. So here the term individual includes the maybe human beings, partnership firms, joint stock companies, and other kinds of corporate companies. Then the next feature is it is levied by the government by the virtue of its power conferred under the Constitution. Yes, the government is levied by the taxes on the public only which is which is entered in the constitution. So with the help of the article which are entered in the constitution, based on these article only the government is levying taxes on the public. Tax is not a payment for specific service rendered by the government to the taxpayers. Yes, don't confuse with the statement. Why? Because if the public is paying tax to the government, then only the government will render services to the public. It is not a real statement, or it is not correct. Why? Because if the tax is paid to the government or not, the government need to work for the society and need to work for the public. So that's why it is not a payment for specific service rendered by the government to the taxpayer. And the next feature is tax may be imposed on the income or wealth or on a commodity, that is either directly or indirectly. Yes, correct. Actually, these taxes are divided into two types. One is direct tax and the other one is indirect tax. So direct tax is levied on the income and wealth of the individual, but the indirect taxes which is imposed on the commodities. So these commodities generally we use it in our regular life. So the examples of these commodities are FMCG goods, fast moving consumable goods. If you want to purchase a pen, just to see the rate of the pen, there is one tag is there, that is MRP, which is inclusive of all taxes. Here, if you purchase a pen which cost is 10 rupees, which includes the indirect tax, but it is out of pocket cost. Why? Because we don't know how much tax is we are paying to the government as indirectly. Okay, then the next concept is objectives of taxes. Yes, there are certain aims and objectives are there for imposing of taxes on the public. So the first objective of taxes is to generate income to meet day-to-day expenditure of the government. Yes, if the government wants to run on daily basis, so it's need money. So the major revenue source of the government is to collect tax from the public. Okay, so the major objective of levying taxes is to generate income to meet day-to-day expenditure of the government. And the second objective is to make provisions to fulfill the basic needs of the people. Yes, these income or the taxes which are collected from the public is used for the public benefits only. Then the next objective is taxation policy is a key instrument to bring socio-economic changes of the people. Yes, obviously. So generally these taxes are collected from the public who are exceeded their exemption limits, but not the normal income. But not from the normal income person. Means in India, according to the assessment year 2021, if an individual whose age is below 60 years, so he has to, if he is earning more than 2,50,000 rupees as his income from any other kind, then he has to pay tax to the government. Means if the person who is living in India, his age is below 60 years, if he is earning more than 2,50,000 per annum, then only he has to pay tax to the government. Okay, so this taxation policy is a key instrument to bring socio-economic changes of the public. Why? Because here the tax is collecting from the public who are exceeding their exemption limits only. Then the next objective is tax is levied to protect the home trade and domestic industry from the global businessmen. Yes, it is possible. Why? Because if there is no taxation structure, or if there is no instructions, or if there is no restrictions to the imports, then most of us will import goods from the other countries. If there is a taxation system is there, then only there is a possibility of importing goods from the other country when comparing to the exports. Why? Because if there is no tax on imported goods, then most of us will import goods from the other country. If there is a taxation structure is there, or if we have to pay tax more onto the imported goods when comparing to the domestically available goods, then there is a possibility of reduction of the imports. Okay, so that's why the tax is levied to protect home trade. Yes, if the imported goods are taxed heavily, then most of us will choose home or domestically available goods. Then prevention of control of concentration of economic power, that is income and wealth in the hands of few persons. In other words, remove disparities. Yes, taxation structure is used to remove disparities in the financial backgrounds of the public. Yes, here we are imposing taxes on those persons who are earning more than their exemption limit. Means if a person earning an income which is more than 2,50,000 and his age is below 60 years, then only he has to pay tax to the government. So this taxation structure will balance the disparities, will remove the disparities between the persons. Then a good taxation system provides redistribution of income and wealth, that is making the lower income people to become rich and the richer not to grow at a faster rate. Yes, here the main aim of the government is to collect tax from the rich people who are earning more and more. They have to pay tax to the government when comparing they have to pay tax to the government they have to pay tax to the government more. If his income quantity, or if his income is increased, then his tax amount also increased. So here the government is concentrating on those persons who are earning more and more when comparing to the lower income people. So with this taxation policy, a country will balance the rich and poor equally. Then when it comes to the types of taxes, so there are several types of taxes are there. So under that, the first one is duty. So what do you mean by duty? So imposition of tax to regulate industrial production and to control export and import of the goods is known as duty. So it is a kind of tax. So if any country, if they wants to support the industrial production, or if they want to control to export or import of the goods, is known as duty. So here there are two examples are there. This duty is classified into excise duty and customs duty. So see, on goods manufactured in the factory within the country, the excise duty is levied. Means if the country or if any person is having a manufacturing industry or manufacturing company, if he is producing goods, then he has to pay tax to the government in the form of excise duty. On the other hand, on the goods imported into or exported from a country, he has to pay customs duty. Means if an industrialist or if a businessman, if they wants to export goods from our country to another country or another country to our country, then he has to pay tax or he has to pay duty, and the duty is called as customs duty. So if the individual or if the manufacturer producing goods in our country, he has to pay excise duty. If he is exporting his goods from our country to another country, then he has to pay customs duty. For imports and for exports also, he needs to pay customs duty. Then cess. Yes, so it is also another type of tax. If the tax is levied for a specific purpose, then it is known as cess. For example, so generally after calculating the gross total income, then after the calculating the net total income, then we'll add some percentage. And nowadays, according to the financial year 2021, we are calculating 4% as health and education cess in addition to the tax amount of the individual. So why these cess are why these cess is calculated? So these kinds of cess is also one of the type of tax, and which is levied for a specific purpose. So health and education cess, it is levied for promoting health and education in the country. So all of you know, the students who are studied in the private colleges, they will get scholarship from the government. So if the government wants to give scholarships to the students, so the huge money is required. So that's why in addition to the taxable amount, every individual, he has to pay 4% as health and education purpose to the, he has to pay additional tax as cess to the government. And in addition to the health and education cess, the other kinds of cess are also available in our country. Under that, the first one is Swachh Bharat cess. So this Swachh Bharat cess is levied for finance and promotion of Swachh Bharat initiatives by the central government. So if the Swachh Bharat activities or any activities which are relating to the Swachh Bharat needs to be conducted by the government, then there is a problem of procurement of money. So it is also one kind of cess. So every time, or only some of the taxpayers, they need to pay Swachh Bharat cess to the government. And the another cess is also available, that is Krishi Kalyan cess. So this is also one kind of cess. Then the other type of tax is surcharge. So surcharge, in single statement you may say that it is also called as a tax on tax. So tax on tax is also known as a surcharge if the object of levying higher tax is for short period of time, then the government resorts to have surcharge. So here I just want to share one statement, that is before the introduction of Income Tax Act 1961, there is one direct tax is there, that is wealth tax. So to collect wealth tax from the public, the government introduced Wealth Tax Act on 1957, but this wealth tax was abolished, and in the it is a replacement. This wealth tax is a replacement of surcharge. Why? Because if the government wants to collect high taxes from the assessee who is earning more when comparing to the other kinds of individuals, or if he is earning more, that is, if he is earning more than 50 lakhs but less than to 1 crore, he has to pay 10% as surcharge. If he is earning more than 1 crore but less than 2 crores, he has to pay 15% as a surcharge. And if he is earning more than 2 crores and less than 5 crores, he has to pay 25% of the surcharge to the taxable amount. And if he is exceeding, if he is earning more than 5 crores, then he has to pay tax to the government as 37%. Means this surcharge is the replacement of the wealth tax. Okay, so surcharge means tax on tax. If any individual who is earning more than 50 lakhs but less than 1 crore, he has to pay 10% as surcharge. Then octroi. Yes, octroi is also another kinds of tax. So if tax is levied by the municipal corporation or gram panchayat on the goods bought from or other parts of the country by traders for sale into their jurisdiction limits, then it is known as octroi. So it is also known as entry tax. So this octroi tax is levied by the municipal corporation and gram panchayat. So if any trader who wants to enter into another's local boundaries, another's mandal or another's village's local boundaries, then he has to pay octroi to the municipal corporation or gram panchayat. Then the next tax is terminal tax. So it is levied by the local bodies and municipalities on the goods leaving for sale from their boundaries to the another parts of the country. So terminal tax is also same as octroi. So here in the octroi, if any another countries traders, or if any another areas traders or businessmen who are entered into our village or our mandal, they have to pay entry tax. And in the same way, if we are going to the another market or another villages, then we have to pay terminal tax to the local bodies or municipalities. Then the last kind of tax is a toll tax, and most of you know about the toll tax. Generally, if we are traveling from one city to another city, so we have to pay toll tax at the toll gate. So this tax is paid by the vehicular travelers, the persons who are traveling in car, bus, jeep, etc. So for using the road or bridge to reach their destination, they have to pay tax to the toll gate authorities. Okay, so these are the types of taxes. So under that, the first one is duty. So duty is classified into two types: excise duty and customs duty. Then cess. So all of you know about the cess. Generally we use health and education cess. Then surcharge. Surcharge is also called as a tax on tax, and which is the replacement of the wealth tax. If your income is exceeding more than 50 lakhs but less than 1 crore, you have to pay 10% tax as a surcharge to the government. If your income is 1 crore and more than, so less than 1 crore and more than 2 crores, then you have to pay 50% as surcharge, and then so on. Then the next topic is classification of taxes. Yes, taxes are classified into following types. So all of you know about the direct taxes and indirect taxes. And tell me what you mean by direct taxes. So direct taxes, which is levied by the government. So direct taxes refers to the taxes that are filed and paid by an individual directly to the government. So if any individual who is paying tax to the government directly, then it is called as direct taxes. Here the ultimate burden of taxation falls on the person on whom the tax is levied. So here under direct taxes, every person in the country who is earning more than 2,50,000 and he has to pay tax to the government directly. Okay, so there are some of the examples are there for direct taxes. Under that, the first one is a corporation tax, and the second one is income tax, and the third one is wealth tax, and the fourth one is gift tax, and the fifth one is a property tax. As this is the classification of taxes. Under that, the first one is income tax, wealth tax, gift tax, and capital gains tax. Under indirect taxes, the first one is value added tax, octroi tax, service tax, and customs duty. So see, when comparing to the indirect taxes, so direct taxes are the taxable amount which is collected from the public is less when comparing to the indirect taxes. Why? Because most of the citizens are the tax evaders. Why? Because the loopholes which are available in the Income Tax Act 1961, most of the taxpayers evade their tax liabilities. So see here, there are some of the examples are there under direct taxes. Under that, the first one is corporation tax. So corporation tax means the companies the companies who are earning profits, they have to pay tax to the government according to the corporation tax policy. So here the corporates, which includes the companies who are registered under the Companies Act 1956 and the banks who are registered under the 1949 Banking Regulation Act and other kinds of corporate societies, they have to pay tax to the government based on their companies in nature and their companies size and their those companies profit structure. So they have to pay tax to the government directly. And the second tax is there, that is income tax. Yes, this is a very, very important tax. So here, so don't think like that if any person is earning tax only from salary, then they have to pay tax to the governments. No, it is not correct. So every individual who is paying tax, who is earning income, which may be from the salary, or which may be from the house property, or which may be from the income from business and profession, or if he is earning income from the capital gains or any other kinds of sources, then he have to pay tax to the government. So here income tax is covered under Income Tax Act 1961. So according to the Income Tax Act, here the term person, which includes an individual and a partnership firm and a cooperative society and a joint stock company and a body of individual and any other kind of the persons and Hindu undivided family, and all these persons are termed as assessee under Income Tax Act 1961. Also, they have to pay tax to the government directly. So here, every individual, he may be an employee, and even though he is having income from house property, then he has to pay tax on the income from salary and income from house property. If any assessee who is earning income from salary and income from house property and income from business and profession, even though he has to pay tax on all the heads of income. So according to the Income Tax Act, there are 5 heads of income are there, which are available under income tax rules and regulations under 1961. So the first income is income from salary, income from house property, income from business and profession, and income from capital gains, and income from other sources. So here, income from salary, which includes a number of allowances and number of perquisites. Then income from house property. So income from house property, which includes the rules and regulations under the house property. So if any individual who is earning income from salary in addition to the income from house property, then he has to pay tax on the both the incomes. If any individual is having only one house property, then he do not know tax to the government if he is using that particular house for the purpose of residential purpose. If he is letting out such house property to any other person and he is collecting rent from that particular tenant, then only he has to pay tax to the government. If any individual is having 2 house properties and one is using for the purpose of residential and the other one is using for the purpose of letting out, then he has to pay tax on the letting out of the property. Okay, and there are different kinds of procedures are available to calculate income from salary and also to calculate income from house property. And the other one is wealth tax. Yes, wealth tax is regulated under the Wealth Tax Act 1957. So here the individuals who are having the personal assets, they have to pay wealth tax to the government, but this wealth tax is abolished and now it is replaced by surcharge, and just now we discussed about the surcharge. Then gift tax. So if any gifts, if we received from our friends, relatives and family members, and if we are giving gifts to any other person, we have to pay tax on those gifts. So generally these gift tax, generally the tax on gift is regulated by the Gift Tax Act 1958, and on 1998 this act was abolished, and now which is includes in the Income Tax Act 1961. So if any gift which is exceeded 50,000 rupees, then we have to pay tax on that particular gift, which may be cash or which may be gold or which may be any other kind of thing, but we have to pay tax to the government if the gift value is exceeded 50,000 rupees. Then the last tax under direct tax is property tax. So don't confuse with the wealth tax. So here under property tax, every kind of individual has to pay property tax, and which is levied by the local bodies according to the market value of the property. Okay, so these are the direct taxes which are levied by the central government or state government or local bodies, means municipalities and any other kinds of governments. But out of all these 5 taxes, the major taxes are corporation tax and income tax. Then the under classification, the second tax is indirect tax. So the name itself saying that if we are paying tax to the government in the form of indirectly, then it is called as indirect taxes. So indirect taxes are those taxes that can be shifted from one individual to another individual. So it is not levied directly on the income of the taxpayer, but is levied on the expenses incurred by them. So here, if you want to purchase any article, or if you want to purchase any book, or if you want to purchase anything from a store, just see the price of that particular product. So in that price of the product, the name is it is coded as MRP, like MRP rupees 10. And see, in brackets it is saying that inclusive of all taxes, means this price 10 rupees which includes the taxes, means indirect taxes is not levied by the government, but every individual, every person, they have to pay indirect taxes to the government, but which is not levied directly on the taxpayer, but it is collected from the seller, and the seller will pay tax to the government. So the examples of the indirect taxes are excise duty, sales tax, customs duty and VAT. VAT means value added tax. But now all these indirect taxes are replaced by the GST, goods and services tax. So see, in the duties, in the duties, we are saying that on goods manufactured in the country, in the factory, within the country, so the excise duty is levied. So see, here the manufacturer has to pay excise duty to the government. Then after paying excise duty, after selling goods to the ultimate consumer, then the consumer will pay such tax, which includes the price of the product to the manufacturer. Okay, so here the indirect taxes are the major source when comparing to the direct taxes. Why? Because we don't know how much tax we are paying to the government as indirectly. But when it comes to the direct taxes, only we focus on the income tax. Why? Because every individual is an income earning person. He may be a salarized employee, or he may be the owner of the house properties, or he may be a professional person, or he may be a businessman, or he may be having capital gains, which includes a short-term capital gain or long-term capital gain, or he may be earn income from other sources, means which includes lottery income or casual income, so any other kinds of income. So here what I want to say is, when comparing to the when comparing to the amount which is collected as direct taxes, which is less when comparing to the indirect taxes. Why? Because here every individual who is poor or rich, they have to pay tax to the government, or they have to pay tax to the particular good or thing. Why? Because he doesn't know how much tax is involved. So if you want to go to the restaurant, and if you ordered any food, and after getting the bill slip, and you just see which inclusive of all taxes. Minute. Pause. Second. Okay, then I just want to share my view regarding to the differences between the direct taxes and the indirect taxes is, then when comparing to the collection of direct taxes, the indirect taxes collection is very easy, and if you want to purchase anything you have to pay tax to the government. But here there is most of the taxpayers who don't pay tax regularly to the government. But here in the indirect taxes, if you want to purchase a good, you need to pay taxes. Why? Because which is an inclusive cost to the particular price of the product. So then next, so this is the broad classification of the direct and indirect taxes. So under the direct taxes, we discussed about the income tax, wealth tax, gift tax, and just I want to focus on the another kinds of direct taxes, that is capital gains tax. Yes, what do you mean by capital gains? If the gain is arrived or derived from the capital assets, then it is called as capital gain. If it is one of the head of the income, so why? Because income is divided into heads of income, which includes 5 heads, that is income from salary, income from house property, income from business and profession, and income from capital gains, and the last one is income from other sources. So here income from capital gains, which includes the capital assets. So capital assets again classified into 2 types. One is financial assets and non-financial assets. So here if the gain is derived from the long-term asset or the short-term asset, so based on the duration of the period, the flat basis tax rate is different. If you earned capital gain, also short-term capital gain, then you have to pay tax to the government at the rate of 15%. Then if you earn long-term capital gain, then you have to pay tax to the government at the rate of 20%. So here the capital gain tax is also we are directly paying to the government. So that's why there is a classification is there under capital gains, whether it is short-term capital gain or long-term capital gain. Then under indirect taxes, we discussed about the value-added tax, octroi, and service tax. So service tax means which includes if you went to a restaurant and you ordered a food and the waiter will serve the food to you, and after when you received a bill, a slip, in that you may identify the service tax. And at the same way, the professional tax, the service tax is also another kind of indirect taxes. Why? Because it is levied, if it is collected by offering service to the public. This service tax is including while any service, if we are rendering to the public, then we have to charge on that particular service. Then you know about customs duty, and it is also one of the indirect tax, but all these indirect taxes are replaced by the GST. GST means goods and services taxes. Okay, then just I forgot to explain one thing. Yes, here under income tax is one of the taxes under direct taxes. So here, but if any individual he wants to pay tax to the government, so there is a two basis of tax systems are available. So that is, the first one is a slab basis and the second one is a flat basis. So slab basis means if any individual who is earning more than 2,50,000 but less than 5 lakh rupees, then he has to pay tax at the rate of 5% of the exceeded amount of 2,50,000. If he is earning more than 5 lakh rupees but less than 8 lakhs, then he has to pay tax to the government at the rate of 10%. If any, and this is applicable to the male or female who is having below 60 years, so they have to pay tax to the government on the slab basis. And if the individual is a resident Indian or non-resident Indian, then even though they have to pay tax on the same scale, like if he is having age below 60 years, then he has to, if he is earning more than 2,50,000 per annum, then he has to pay tax according to the given slab system. But here the another basis is also available, that is a flat basis. So we are already discussed that the capital gain taxes means if you are having non-financial assets, so non-fixed assets or financial assets. So financial assets which includes share certificates, debenture certificates, bonds, treasury bill, certificate of deposits, and other kinds of financial assets comes under this capital gains. If the duration period is below 1 year, it is called short-term capital asset. If the duration period is more than 1 year, then it is called long-term capital assets. So under this short-term capital gain or under this short-term capital asset and long-term capital asset, while buying and selling of these short-term capital assets and long-term capital assets, if any income is generated more than the purchase cost, then that particular difference amount is called as gain. If this gain is derived from the short-term capital asset, you have to pay tax to the government at the rate of 15%. Okay, and so that's why, so here there is no slab rate system. So slab rate system means if your income is earned more than 2,50,000 but less than 5 lakhs, then you have to pay 5% on those amount which is exceeded the 2,50,000. But here in the capital gains, the fixed percentage means the flat percentage. If you are earning more than the purchase cost. But if the asset is a short-term financial asset, then you have to pay directly 15% on the short-term capital gain to the government. So 15% as tax to the as tax on the short-term capital gain, and you have to pay that amount to the government directly. And the other one, the property tax and gift tax also completed, and toll tax, surcharge, cess, duties. Yes. So in the objectives, under the objectives of taxes, we discussed one objective: tax is levied to protect home trade and domestic industry from the global businessmen. So this is one of the objectives. So why this objective is involved is only so why this objective is involved means, so here duty includes excise duty and customs duty. If the manufacturer or if the businessman or if the individual wants to import goods from the other country, they have to pay customs duty to the government. If the customs duty is increased, there is no possibility of the increased imports when comparing to the exports. Means here the Indian taxation structure is protecting the domestic traders by enhancing customs duty, by reducing excise duty. So here, if the when comparing to the customs duty, the excise duty is less. Why? Because if the manufacturer has to pay tax to the government, if he wants to manufacture goods in India, then he has to pay excise duty to the government. If the government reduces these excise duty taxes, then it's a subsidy or it's an encouragement to the domestic traders. But in the same way, if the government increases the customs duty rates, then there is most of the businessmen, they don't import the goods from the outside if those goods are available in our country. Okay, so this is the difference. Based on this rule, the Indian government will protect the home trade and domestic industry from the global business. And in the same way, nowadays we are seeing that suddenly the petrol prices are increased, suddenly the cost of the provisions are increased, and due to COVID pandemic situation, most of the medicines rate is increased. Why? Because all these are happened only because the government expenditure on the public is increased. So that's why the petrol prices are increased and provision rates are also increased. So this will be reduced only at that time when the country is having the excess funds. But it is not possible in India. Why? Because in India our population is 121 million crores. Then if the government wants to take any step regarding to the lockdown, or if the government wants to announce the second time lockdown, then there is no possibility of the sourcing. There is no possibility to procure the income sources. Why? Because if there is no income, there is no tax. If the individual is earning income, then only he has to pay tax to the government. If there is no income sources are available to the public, then the revenue of the government will also be decreased. So due to this, there is another financial crisis is waiting for us. Why? Because if again if again the cost of the cost of goods are increased, but there is no increment in the wages of the individuals, but there is no increment in the salaries of the individuals, so the savings of the public is also decreased, so it will lead to the great pandemic. So that's why the government is thinking about the lockdown of the country again. And if the income sources of the public is decreased, then there is a decrease of the income to the government. Why? Because the government income, the major income source of government is to collect taxes from the public, and if the government wants to introduce any social welfare activities, then they require money, and the government if the government wants to produce more and more COVID vaccines, produce more and more quantity of the COVID vaccines, even though there is a need of money. If the government wants to construct new hospitals for the COVID patients, or if the government wants to purchase oxygen cylinders for the COVID patients, even the COVID patients, so there is a need of money. So that's why if the government if the government wants to initiate any social welfare activity, so it is relating to the income sources of the government. So the major source of government's income is a tax. So that's why every time the petrol rates are increased, and the petrol rate is increased, then we have to pay more to the government. So all these are interlinked events. If the government wants to reduce the wants to reduce the slab rates or flat rates, so there is a possibility of the income decreased to the government. So these are the taxation terms which are under the Income Tax Act 1961. So and here I just want to explain about the assessment year and previous year. So according to Income Tax Act, there is a difference between the assessment year and financial year. If the individual earning income, if the individual is earned income in the previous year, so that income is assessed in the present year. Means if A is earning income of 5 lakh rupees in the year of 2016-17, so that 2016-17 is the financial year. So that that income is assessed in the year of 2017-18. So there is a difference between the previous year and the assessment year. So the previous income is assessed on the assessment year. So according to Income Tax Act, the individual is called as, the person is called as assessee. Assessee may include human being, partnership firm, joint stock company, Hindu undivided family, and any other artificial person, and association of persons, so any other kinds of persons. So according to Income Tax Act, he is termed as assessee. So if you want to pay direct, if you want to pay tax tax on your income, then you have to get one number that is called PAN, Permanent Account Number. So which is linked to your bank accounts and your income, which is linked with your bank account and with your mobile number. So based on these details, the CBDT, Central Board of Direct Taxes, will calculate your tax based on the income generating sources of an assessee. So after calculating the taxable income of an individual, then it is intimated to that particular person, and he has to pay tax to the government by using PAN. PAN means Permanent Account Number. And generally all these income tax returns are filed by the individuals itself, but nowadays all these income tax returns are filed by the cost and management accountants and other tax consultant, and these services are also provided by the consultant services. Please keep it in your mind, if you are paying tax to the government, so it is not a favor, or it is not a sacrifice you are doing. Why? Because it is a responsibility of a citizen to pay tax to the government. Why? Because if the government wants to introduce any employment, wants to create any employment opportunities, or if the government wants to start any new industries in our countries, or if the government wants to introduce any new technology development activities, so there is a need of money. If you are the citizen of this country, then if you pay your direct taxes, that is income tax, to the government, so it is beneficial. It is benefited to throughout the it is benefited not only to you, to the other people who are living in our country also. So the tax payment is our responsibility. Okay, but when comparing to the indirect taxes, we don't know how much amount we are daily paying to the government as indirect tax. But when comparing to the direct tax, it is a huge procedure is there. So if you earning more 2,50,000, so you have to file your TDS, and if you earn more than 2,50,000, you have to file your tax returns to the CBDT, and you have to pay tax even throughout. You have to pay tax. You have to pay tax to the government based on the tax return filed by you, and which must be verified by the CBDT. If you paying tax which is exceeded than the taxable amount, and that must be refunded to your account. If you are paying less tax to the government, then that must be, and that balance amount, and you have to pay to the CBDT again. So here, if you want to pay tax to the government, or if you want to calculate how much tax you have to pay to the government, then you can go through the e-filling of the CBDT's procedure. So after login into the e-filling, you use your PAN number. So with that, one OTP is sent to your registered mobile number. So with that, you may start your e-filling, and after e-verification, so one form 16 and other 12 and other kinds of forms which is sent to your registered mail ID. So with that, you may assess your tax. So this is about the taxation terms which comes under the Income Tax 1961. So after knowing all these things, I just want to thank you, all of you. Why? Because with this lecture, I learned about the new terms which are under the Income Tax Act 1961. And if any individual who is not staying in India at least 181 days, then he has to check whether he is a resident Indian or non-resident Indian. So based on that, he has to pay tax to the government on all other kinds of terms and all the different kinds of allowances, perquisites which are related to the income from salary, and other kinds of TDS and other kinds of deductions. All these are very interesting rules and regulations which comes under the Income Tax Act 1961. So which is beneficial, which is very, very beneficial to you if you go through the Income Tax Act 1961. So it is a good subject, and you must learn the good things which are related to the individual taxpayer. And thank you one and all, and I hope this video will help you to learn about the taxes, direct taxes and indirect taxes. Thank you all.